This episode was brought to you by Stradler's Co.
Thank you for watching this episode of the BM Experience. This episode wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Cactus Studio out there in Bedford, Texas. Special shout out to Cometa. He did us a big favor while we were out there in Dallas recording for the past, 2-3 days over there out there. Good favor, great favor right there with Cometa. Also, a special shout out to our sponsor, La Fenti. Hooks it up with the merch, hooks it up with the sticks. Anything that you want, drum included, drum gear, go out there to La Fenti, aka Custom Drumsticks. He'll hook you up for a good price. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for everything else that'll be coming out with Paqueteros Macizos. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Joey, for coming.
Oh,
it's a
man.
pleasure, bro.
Thank you for having me.
How was the flight?
Early. It was early. And that's because last night, yesterday, my wife and I were coming home from Houston. And so we got back to Alice about 10, around 10 at night. And then we had to go drop off some stuff at her boutique. By the time I got home and situated, I took a shower, got into bed. It was about 12:15, but I was on my phone. And then by the time I went to bed, it was like 1. I woke up at 3:30 and drove to the airport.
How far is the airport from your house?
It's about like 35, 40 minutes.
Oh, it's not bad.
The thing is that Corpus is like, because Alice is a small town. Mm-hmm. The next biggest town or city is Corpus. So we go there all the time.
I saw that you were in Houston, and did somebody get ran over the other day?
Oh, dude.
What was that about?
You know what's crazy? So check this out. I was telling the fellas earlier the day is that, so we were getting into Houston, and it just so happened that my wife got tagged in this video on TikTok. And the video was basically a guy was warning everybody that if you're going to the Galleria in Houston, to be careful because they're snatching people there. Like kidnapping
like kidnapping.
people. Yeah. And she was freaking out because she said, I didn't even post that we were going to Houston. So it's like a weird coincidence, right? So then as we're talking, I turned left on Westheimer because our hotel is off of Westheimer. And as soon as I made a turn, I saw all these siren lights, like police lights. I was like, I go, look, babe. And I was like, man, I wonder what happened. So as we're going, as we're getting closer, you see the yellow tape, you know?
Like the caution?
Yeah, the caution tape. So I slowed down and I rolled my window down, and sure enough, dude, there was a dead body in the road. And I was like, what the hell? And she was like, babe, are you I go, look. So then we went. She goes, let's go back. So we turned around. So we did the U-turn. We went, and it was in the parking lot of, it wasn't in the parking lot, but we parked in the parking lot of Canes. Mm-hmm. So if you're on Westheimer, it was right across from
Watch
Canes.
out in Westheimer,
yeah.
bro.
And so we get off, and one of the workers came and said, so apparently a guy was riding his motorcycle doing 75 miles an hour, and I think he hit a car, and that impact flew him to oncoming traffic, and then he got hit again, and they instantly killed him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so we saw, we were right there. We could see them. They covered the body, and then they put him in the corner, took him, and that was crazy, bro.
And in the area that we live at, there was I think it was like 2 days ago, they found a dead person too, like on the side of the highway.
Well, same thing in Alice. The day before we left that morning before we left to Houston, they had found a dead body on Texas Boulevard down the street from my wife's boutique.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, bro.
Because they shut down the whole highway too, and then I think it was about like 5 hours later, no news would come out because where we live is very conservative, so they try to keep it, low on everything.
That's wild, man. I trip out on stuff like that.
Oh yeah, 925. Yeah, woman. It was a woman that they found over there, and yeah, just out on the highway. And then I think they've been looking for like suspicious vehicles and stuff like that. There was cops everywhere that whole day. And
what was wild about this dude is that he didn't have no helmet, no ID, no phone, no insurance, no nothing. So they were saying like.
Was he like a runaway or
nobody knows. They were saying like it was his fault because he was driving recklessly.
Oh yeah.
So and then they were like, you ain't got no ID, no phone, no nothing. It's like
no wallet, no ID.
Like if you don't know what a person's going through. You don't know if it was done intentionally or what. Like como le vale madre, hey, I'm going down guns blazing. You know what I'm saying? Like for real, like it's crazy.
Is that Westheimer Road? Is that like a pretty big road in Houston, or is it like a downtown?
It's by the gallery. It's in the Galleria area. So and it has a bunch of it's a pretty busy street.
I don't think I've ever been there. Yeah, go to never mind. I won't go to Westheimer. I won't go to Westheimer.
You know what's crazy is that a lot of people messaged me and commented like, "Welcome to Houston," or "Stay away from this area," and I'm like, "Damn, that's great!" Like I've been going to Houston since I was a kid. And now people are like, stay away from here, stay away from there. Don't go here, don't go there.
Well, not just in Houston, but everywhere. It's crazy right now. Like everywhere you go,
Everybody's going wild, man.
I don't like to be too political, but the protest. See, these protests and all that stuff. Like in LA, there were some in Denver, and everywhere you go, it's just crazy madness. Oh, stuff that's going around across overseas and stuff like that. It's just. The world's gone crazy.
It's crazy, man. Like I see what's going on the news, and that's a trip, bro. It's a trip to see how everything is playing out, man.
So, did you grow up in Houston, or where did you grow up?
No, I was born and raised in a small town of Sigan, Texas, which Sigan is 30 miles east of San Antonio. I grew up, born and raised there, and then I moved I live now in Alice, Texas, which is crazy because I didn't even realize. Apparently, supposedly, Alice is the birthplace of Tejano music.
Oh,
that's what it's. If you Google it, that's what they say.
I
don't know.
Look at our brand.
I don't know. But I've been in Alice already going on 10 years. My wife is from Gonzales, or it's so weird, man, because her dad is from Seguin, my hometown, and her mom is from Gonzales, which is 30 minutes from my hometown. But she's lived in Alice all her life. So when we got together, it was easier for me to move because of I'm on tour, and she had her business there, so it was it was easier for me to pick up and go.
Is there any famous celebrities like Tejano music wise that grew up in Alice, or why is Alice the big?
I don't even know why they call it that. I think it has something to do with some conjunto, or I don't know. I couldn't tell you. That's how come they have. Well, that's how come technically they have the Tejano Roots Hall of Fame is in Alice.
Like Tejano music, it was like originalmente it was like con metales, right, with like horns and all that shit.
Yes.
Right? Originally
Orquesta, yeah. That's what they claim. Well, before the name Tejano, it was called Chicano music.
Okay.
With the horns and all that stuff, and I mean, I don't even know who created the labels. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's what it is. But as far as I know, one of the biggest legendary conjuntos. Ruben Naranjo and Los Gamblers are from Alice. And then, of course, after Ruben passed away, his son Ricky continued the legacy of the Gamblers. So Ricky Naranjo and Los Gamblers from Alice. Some of the members that used to be with Jaime Los Chamacos are from Alice. Okay. Let's see, who else? Chano Cadena, and it's a bunch of it's deep rooted in conjunto music, that I do know.
And it's ironic, deep rooted, and the thing is called Roots Hall of Fame. Yeah, I'm just looking. Exactly. I was reading that.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Do you think Tejano's a dying genre, or is what do you consider it?
It's hard, bro, because Tejano music it's not just about the music; it's about the culture, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think that the powers that be, like from the radio stations and stuff, I think they kind of put a damper on it because they don't want to feed the new generation new stuff, you know. And I guess I'm kind of what do you say, calling the kettle black, because I started a La Mafia tribute band, you know. But I just think like people, when I was growing up, it was like the thing you liked Tejano music. Mm-hmm. You know, people when I was in junior high, 12 and 13-year-old kids were wearing La Mafia shirts, Fama shirts, Emilio shirts, Selena shirts. You know, like it was a thing. Like it was cool.
It's funny you say that, bro, because like since you grew up in that area, Tejano Conjunto is like that's the thing that was popping.
Yeah.
there, right. Because like for example, here in the DFW, it's very different. Like
Yeah, that's what we were talking about that on the way over here. I was telling them that I was looking on social media at sax players, and I was amazed on how many young dudes play sax, but they play norteño sax.
There's a bunch of good
Yeah, there's a
players
lot
here
of them, man.
that's
There's,
there,
and that's cool too for the genre. You know, that even that I'm pretty sure that was like on the back burner for a while,
Exactly.
and now that it's coming to the forefront, you know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, there's a bunch of chavitos, bro. They goddamn, they play badass, man.
Yeah.
Honestly. Shit, when I was that young, shit, we didn't sound like that. I'll be honest, Well, Joey, you started at 9 years old, right?
No.
Well,
I started touring
Touring at
9 years old.
So you started playing.
Technically, I've been playing drums since birth. Really, like my mom always said that she saw signs of me, of drum playing since obviously it's my dad was a drummer. That was what he did. That's what he was known for. And it's like you're gonna have a baby. It's gonna be a boy. Well, guess what? It's like anybody. If your dad was in sports, well, you're gonna teach him how to play baseball or football or whatever. So the fact that I was a boy, my mom was like, you're gonna teach. He's gonna be a drummer, right? But it's crazy because my dad always told my mom. Their ongoing thing was always, my dad would say, "No, I'm not gonna show him. He's got it." And my mom was like, "You need to teach him," and then she was like, "No, he's got it." And it's crazy. Like she said that she would see, like they would take me to the restaurants and I would get the forks and knives and I would play. And of course I'm hitting on the table or the high chair or whatever. And it's crazy, bro, because I never once in my entire life ever woke up one day and said, I want to be a drummer when I grow up. Mm-hmm. God blessed me this way.
It just got you.
It's just in my DNA, man.
And how'd you start touring at 9? That's kind of crazy.
Well, the thing is that I started playing music when I was about 5 years old. I started doing these local bands, man, that would come and pick me up at my parents, and I would go play in San Antonio. And these cantina bars were like exactly. I mean, think about it. Like I have nieces that are 5 or nephews that are 5, and I'm like, what the hell were my parents thinking? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but again, times were different back then. Times were different back then, and it's like for example, I played at the Conjunto Festival back in May with Jaime Diana and Los Chamacos. And my manager from Loca Pasion, Santos Aguilar, we were there talking. And my manager, Santos, his dad comes from a legendary Tejano group called Los Aguilares. And they used to play there at Rosedale, that same place that they had the Conjunto Fest. And me and Santos were talking about it. He goes, dude, when I was little, when my dad used to play here, we would be running around. My parents didn't go look for us. We'd be back and we go running because it was a big park and there was, the slide and swings, and you were there. You made friends with whoever was there, and nobody went looking for us. He goes. Imagine now, hell no. I let my kid roaming by themselves.
The kids were very independent and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing was that I was so young, and I ended up playing. I ended up getting in a band called Carlos Miranda Jr. and the Boys at the time, and you're talking 1989, and we at that time, Tejano music was popular. So if you had a band and you were semi decent, you could work every weekend.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and it's a trip because, so the fact that we were playing every weekend and. Selena and Los Dinos, right? They would go to let's say for example, Dallas. If they went to a club in Dallas, they would see our flyer. And either we were gonna be at that venue or we had already played there. And they saw that flyer of us a lot of places, and they're like, "Who's this band?" We see them everywhere, but we've never heard of them. And the thing is, we didn't play original music. We just played covers. You know, whatever was happening at the time.
Yeah.
And it took for A.B. Quintanilla to call the number that was on the flyer, which was Carlos's mom, Berta. She was the manager, and he called and was like, "What's up with this band? Like, who are these guys?" And then he decided he wanted to come to Seguin to hear us. And I remember coming out. I remember getting out of school and coming home, and my mom said that Berta came looking for me. Berta came to the house to pick me up, and she told me that we were gonna do like a little audition for A.B. Quintanilla, and I didn't even know who that was. You know, I was 10 years old, 9 years old, and we go, and I remember, I'll never forget, it's the first time I ever saw a BMW, and he was parked outside because Carlos's parents used to own a salon called the Nochecita Hall, and that's where we used to rehearse. So we went, our gear was already set up, and he was there, man, and we performed for him. We played like an Emilio song and like I think La Mafia song, and that turned into, hey, you guys want to go on tour with Selena and Los Dinos? So we became her opening act.
That's
and
crazy.
yeah, dude, like that was a trip because we went everywhere she went. We opened up for them.
How long did that last for? Bro?
That was about almost 2 years.
I remember seeing. I don't know if it was a picture or you got a hold of an old ass video where you're actually on the drums.
Yeah.
Got to play with Selena.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I actually filled in a few shows for a while with them when I was about 11 and 12. I went in and filled in for Suzette. And, I mean, dude, that was talking about, like, I mean, who can, not very many people could say that.
yeah, bro.
You know,
No.
or, you know.
No.
And aparte, I mean, I'm pretty sure not anybody can say they did it at that age.
No.
You know, so it was a. Trust me, man. Those are memories that live in my heart forever. And then when they pop up, you know, I think about it and I'm like, wow, man. Like it's crazy because at the time I didn't know the magnitude of the impact that she had on the fans. You know, it was just Selena. It was the Dinos. We were just people.
It was,
you know, I didn't know that they were superstars. You know what I'm saying?
And I bet it didn't feel like that at the time either.
It didn't. But it was cool because to be able to. That was my first time ever traveling in a tour bus. You know,
11 years old. That's crazy.
yeah, dude. Like you know, being out there and playing in front of all these people and just being able to experience being on big stages and like
big sound
big sound system, like you know, and
you had the drums that had that big ass rack with
yeah, because we used their gear. So I used Suzette's electric drums and the big cage. I mean, the cage was the tall cage, which back in those days, that's what was popular back then. Yeah, like if you like the bigger the cage, the badass drum set. Yeah, like that's what it was.
I tried to look for them, but they don't make them no more. I don't know, because I would want to bring that back.
Yeah, dude, it looked cool, man.
But yeah, I don't even think they make them anymore, bro.
No.
The only way to find one is
I'm sure they make. I'm sure like Gibraltar, for example.
probably,
Gibraltar could probably, you could probably get one just like that.
Like that
Yeah,
one?
exactly. That's what was popping back then.
The Queen
You
drum
know?
set.
Yeah, chula.
¿La están vendiendo o qué? Para comprarla. What is that, Etsy?
Imagine a little short guy playing that, like fucking trying to aim.
Yeah, how would you
fucking
reach like
symbols,
the symbol? Did you reach the symbol?
I could reach, yeah. It's crazy, man, because there's videos. There's a video of me playing. There's a video of me playing with Selena, and there's a video of me playing with Carlos when we opened up, because we opened up for her when she did the Selena live in Corpus at the Memorial Coliseum. We were the opening act, and there's footage on YouTube, and you see me jamming, and it's a trip, bro, because I'm 11 years old, and I'm like, that's wild, man.
That's wild, especially seeing that now. So
Yeah.
later, yeah.
And what's even more crazy is that I remember we were doing promotion in Houston with Siggno, and we were at the TV station. I think we were like at Univision or something. And this guy walks in and he goes, Joey? And I'm like, yeah. And he just hands me this thing, which was, I thought it was a CD. It was in a white envelope. And I'm like, what's this? And he left. And then I opened it up and it said, Joey Jimenez, Carlos Miranda Jr., Corpus Christi, Texas. A la madre. It's a DVD. So when we got done with promotion, we got on the bus. I popped it in. I was like, oh, snap. It was footage from that concert.
Is there videos on YouTube?
There's actually a video. If you type in,
I want to see that.
If you type in Joey Jimenez a long time ago, that's what it says. That's the name of the title.
Hace un chingo de años.
That's the name of the title.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, and it shows me playing. Who
uploaded, a fanner or
some dude? Yeah. I don't even know who it was. I don't even know. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's pro shot. Like it's not like from
like
a.
professional.
That's right. It's like from the top one. That's
top
it.
one?
Watch if you see.
Let's watch this little bit.
It's crazy, bro. That's a trip, man.
And then after, so you did that for 2 years, right?
Yes, sir.
And then after that, did you go with, was it Chris? Or?
After the Selena thing, I started playing with Excelencia. Excelencia was a big Tejano band from Houston, and that was another cool, like I guess at the time bucket list, so to speak, because Excelencia was one of my favorite Tejano bands growing up, and then I had the opportunity to join the band.
Yeah,
And
you even went. You did a couple shows with them when you got out of Siggno, didn't you?
I did. As a matter of fact, I went back. That was actually my first gig after I left Siggno. Maybe like 2 weeks after I played with David in Edna, Texas. And mind you, I hadn't seen these guys in years, bro. And I walked in and it was like, I mean, I was still, even though it was 20, 30 years later, I was still the youngest one there. And, but it was like, I mean, dude, it was like riding a bike, bro. Like, you know, I mean, the thing is like being a fan of Excelencia, La Mafia, whatever, I still listen to it on the daily, you know, and to be honest with you, and like in all honesty, the first album I recorded with Excelencia, it's called Un Ángel No Debe Llorar. And I recorded that record when I was 13. And sometimes on road trips, I pop it in, or I have it on my phone, and I listen to it, and and so many memories come to mind because I remember when I got on the drums in the drum room, and the guys, the engineers were looking at me like, who's this kid? You know?
That's how they have a kid here.
Yeah, there's a kid getting on the drums, and then I started playing, and they were like, whoa, like because when I hear it, I just think to myself, like, that don't sound like a 13-year-old on the drums. Like, you know,
that's not me.
You know what I mean? It sounds solid, it's groovy, and I'm very, very proud of that. And it makes me like happy because it's man,
you gotta feel proud for that, bro.
yeah,
Very much.
yeah, and even more so the fact that they even gave me,
man.
they gave me the opportunity and allowed me to, because I mean, think about it, bro. I mean, I tell the story all the time to people that when I was with Excelencia and I was such a young kid that when sometimes we would do in stores like at Walmart, you know, just autograph signings, they would put me at the front, and then it would be the band, and then when people would come, they would see me. And they would skip me because they thought I was just a little kid just hanging out with the band, or they didn't know I was in the band, you know. Yeah. But yeah, man, it was. I was in that band for 5 years of my life. I joined it when I was 13, and I got out when I was 18 years old. So I grew up in that band, man. It was some of the best times of my career.
Did you grow up playing Tejano, or what did you grow up?
Well, I grew up. I'm a rocker, bro.
Rocker?
100%. Like, I wanted to be Tommy Lee from Mötley Crüe.
Mötley Crüe.
Yeah,
That's just the mero mole. That's like one of the drummers you could say that's your...
That's the one that... He's the guy that really shaped my drumming in as far as influence, because when I saw him play the showmanship of the twirling of the sticks, the choking the cymbal with the forearm, cocking the hand up and hitting up here, like, that's where I got that from, was from Tommy Lee. And then it was about the attitude. Yeah. Not so much being arrogant, more so when you play the attitude, your conviction. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So he shaped that. I mean, anybody that knows me and knows the story about my upbringing and everything, they know that Tommy Lee was my everything, and it still is. I mean, he's still my favorite drummer, and
Have you ever got to meet him, bro?
I never have, bro. And you know it's funny because just the other day, I have this picture. I found it in my drawer, and I took it out because I framed it and I put it on my dresser. And my wife literally, she goes, "Are you serious? Did you really put that picture there?" It's because when I joined, when I started playing with Kumbia Kings with AB, he took me to see Mötley Crüe at La Arena Monterrey in 2006, and it just so happened I had already seen that show on that tour 5 times. This was my 6th time watching it. So Tommy Lee was doing his drum solo over here at the soundboard. The drums were in the air.
Yeah, you got to see the
I got to see.
cage,
Yeah,
right?
no. This was a different one. This was a different one. So he had these 2 drum sets. One was like electronic, and the other one was like industrial. It had like metal things and stuff. So he got off stage and he ran over here with security to the soundboard, and they hooked him up to a harness. It lifted him up in the air, and he played one drum set, and then it flew him to the other drum set. He did that for a thing, and then the security came and told Chris Pettis, said, "Hey, watch out, Tommy Lee's gonna come this way to go back to the stage." And Chris goes, "Hey, Tommy Lee's coming right here, bro. So let's switch sides," because he was in the aisle. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, man, I was already getting ready, bro. I was getting hype. I was getting ready." So yeah, once he came down, Chris literally had me by the back of my shorts, holding me, because he said, "Don't be going wild, right?" So, anyways, so when Tommy Lee came and he got like right in front of me, I snapped the picture, and the picture that I got was of his arm because he was holding on to security. So when I developed the pictures, because I had film. I mean, I had film, you know. So when I developed the pictures, that's all I got, and I framed that picture. My wife got pissed and told me to take it off. Yeah. So I framed the arm.
Did you watch the movie?
Of course, yeah, hell yeah, dude. That movie. No, but you know what? I since y'all since y'all watched the movie, y'all need to read the book.
The book
The book is necio. Like they left a lot of stuff out.
They left
A lot of stuff out.
You watched the
Yeah.
whole thing?
Yeah,
Bro,
badass movie. I watched
It's-
it 3-4
yeah.
times
The
already.
one that showed me that movie was René. También le mando un saludo a René, my old bandmate. Badass
Yeah.
fucking
No,
movie.
dude. Everybody and their mother was like, "Joe, you ready? The movie's coming out, you know." And I waited for it to come out. I think it came out like at midnight. And when I came home, I watched it on Netflix. My wife and I.
The Dirt, right? It was
Yeah, the dirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy as movie.
Oh, dude.
But the book is crazier.
The book is crazier. Yeah. Those dudes, and it's funny because a lot of people would always tell me, like, because everybody, like, again, if you know me, I mean, I got Mötley Crüe tattooed all over this arm right here. And
Oh yeah.
and people they freak out because I'm not like that. I those guys are my heroes, but I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff, you know. So they would be like, I remember when I was playing with AB, we had a guy who played accordion, se llamaba Gipper, may he rest in peace, Gip. And Gip used to call me rock and roll orange juice because I was a rocker, but I didn't do anything.
Orange juice.
Yeah.
Hey, so you've never had issues, you said it on, bro.
Not really, man. Well, the worst thing that I really did, to be quite honest with you, is I smoked cigarettes for like 4 years. And I bet you when my wife watches this podcast, she's going to roll her eyes about that. Because every time when people ask me, and I'm like, "Why you smoke?" She says, "Oh my God, that doesn't even count, 4 years, you know." But yeah, no, that was really it. I mean, I've drank before, and you know, and I've had some wine and stuff. But to call myself a drinker, to Joey, you want to drink? No, I don't.
Fucking sniff shit off the ground
Yeah,
and shit.
nah, hell
like Ozzy
no.
Osbourne. Fuck, bro.
No,
that
dude,
was Ozzy Osbourne, right? In the movie?
Yeah, he was sniffing ass.
Off of the ground.
Yeah, man,
Motherfucker.
crazy.
He found something.
Yo, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, he found something. He's like, I'm gonna fucking take one porque, you know,
Oh, you got
por
Joey.
ley.
And where are your parents originally from?
They're from Sigan. Born and raised, born and raised in Sigan. Both my parents.
Where's
Yeah.
like the Mexico background come from, bro?
You know what? To be quite honest with you,
Yeah,
bro,
man.
I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
Because you know, being with AB and being with Siggno, a lot of we would go to Mexico a lot. More so with AB, because Siggno was more like, you know, Monterrey, Puebla, San Luis,
Yeah.
Aguascalientes, stuff like that. With AB, we were all over
over,
Mexico.
yeah, y'all were
You know, from
going-
Chiapas hasta all the way to Mexicali, Tijuana, and all the way over there. So people would always ask me, like, tienes raíces mexicanos? And I would be like, I don't know. I mean, I don't. From what I know, our family was from Texas. I mean, I'm sure somewhere
they have to have.
it has to
someone
be.
has to
Yeah,
came
I would
Don't
assume
know
so.
where exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because I would try like at first. Trust me, man. I mean, even till this day, I try my best to like I want to learn more Spanish. You know, to talk more Spanish because like I don't want because I know sometimes. Not everybody does, but sometimes people get offended, you know, if you don't know, you know. So I try to learn, and I try to, when I do speak it, I try my best to sound authentic,
As authentic as
you know,
possible,
as much as I can. And some people have asked me if I was, you know, from Mexico because the accent that I sounded like them, and I was like, no, well, pues tienes el acento, you know, mexicano or whatever. And you know what was crazy is that I'll never forget back in 2007, I believe it was, we were in when I was playing with AB, we were in Culiacan, Sinaloa. We did the Pedro Infante anniversary concert, and I'll never forget. After the concert, the guys went out to a club or the after party, and I stayed there. And I remember going outside of my hotel, and I was just kind of like just embracing outside. It was late at night, and then the security came up to me, and he goes, "Hey, cómo les fue?" And we carried a conversation, and that was the first time I ever carried a decent conversation with somebody, and they understood every word that I said. And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe that I pulled that off. You know, because sometimes, you know, my mouth goes faster than my brain.
Yeah.
You know, and I say stuff, I'm like, wow, la madre que digo. Like, you know what I mean?
Did you grow up speaking Spanish around the house? Or
No,
like-
no. I didn't. I wanted to learn. I used to play with this band when I was 19 years old. It was from Houston. It was called Grupo Mítico. And Mítico, we played a lot in Monterrey. So, and because the fact that we, you know, had tattoos and earrings and stuff, I knew they were going to ask about our look and stuff like that. So I wanted to learn certain things because, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I knew some of them would talk shit about us.
Yeah, no.
And I wanted to know if they were talking mess, and I wanted to be able to respond back, you know? So that's how come I started asking questions, or how do I say this, or how do I respond to this, you know? And that's when I really learned, started to learn how to speak and understand Spanish, because then I would come back home and I would hear my aunts and uncles talking. I'm like, man, y'all are saying that wrong. Because they would say like queque, and I'm like, what the hell is that? That's not even a word. And they were referring to cake, and I'm like, that's pastel. Like that's not queque. Or, you know, just certain, you know, like, yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
my girl, she's not gonna let me lie. They call cupcakes kekis.
Kekis.
I'm like, what the? When I went to their house the first time we were having dinner, and they're like, ¿Quieres un kekis? I'm like, what the fuck is a keki? I was like, a cupcake, un pastelito.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy,
But
bro.
yeah, no, I wanted, I mean, like I said, again, you know, I'm still trying to learn more. Like with Loca Pasion, my current band, the La Mafia tribute band, my vocalist, Luis Sanchez, El Wichi, he's Regio, he's from Monterrey. So I asked him, you know, like, hey, help me with when we do interviews or podcasts and stuff like that, and he speaks great English too. He's born and raised in Monterrey. He moved to Robstown, and he's been in. I think he moved to Robstown when he was like maybe 19 or 20 years old, and then he's been in Houston for like 20 something years. So yeah, man. So I try my best to educate myself in that, you know, because I mean, even more so now, I want to be able to communicate, you know.
What made you want to make a tribute band, especially La Mafia?
Well, to be honest, the thing is like, you know, people that know me know that La Mafia is my favorite Tejano band of all time. And, you know, my dream was it's crazy because my dream was to play drums for La Mafia. That was my dream. And then that dream came to surface when I was playing with AB, and it just so happened, you know, unfortunately, that at the time when the opportunity presented itself, La Mafia wasn't working that much, and I was on tour everywhere. I was in Mexico, South Central America with AB, and trust me, man, it was so hard to turn that down because I mean it's La Mafia. It's the the moment I was dreaming for. And I mean, all I've ever done is play music for a living. So you got me on tour, playing every weekend, flying and on tour, different countries. And then Mafia at the time, they only played maybe once, maybe twice a month. So it just didn't make sense for me to make trust me, bro, I was beating myself up about that. And it happened 3 times. Twice when I was with AB, and then the third time was when I was with Siggno. But the third time, they pretty much Mondo had mentioned to me, like, he had basically saying, if you want to come and try it with us, but remember, we don't work as much as you're used to.
sacrifice was going to be real big.
And I was playing with Siggno at the time, and at that moment, that was in 2016. Siggno was todo lo que da.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, it was one of those like, man. So basically, it didn't happen, right? So that was that. And then I would think about like, man, I should have said yes, and then no, and this and that. So then, fast forward to December of 2023, around the holidays, my wife Starla, shout out to my wife Starla. She's a huge La Mafia fan, just like me. But my wife is a fan of La Mafia, of the old school 80s and 90s Tejano stuff, like with the saxes and those songs. You know what I mean? And she was baking cookies for Christmas, like for people that she was doing these cookie orders during the holidays. And of course I was there helping her, and and mind you, it was her La Mafia playlist we were listening to, not mine. It was hers. So we were there, dude, and it was like believe it or not, it was like at 10 at night. I'm there mixing and she's jamming, bro, and I'm like, damn. And then the next song, damn, and then the next song, damn. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, man, they don't play none of these songs. Like none of them. They don't play not one. Like we heard like 6 in a row. They don't play not one of them. And all of a sudden, I just said, babe, you know what? I should start a La Mafia tribute band. And she's like, what? Like, what do you mean? I said, yeah. I go, imagine they don't play none of these songs. For what reason, I don't know, but I just imagine if I had a band that played these songs. I said, I bet you people would want to hear these songs. I mean, because not so much believe it or not, but when Mafia came out, Mafia started in 1980. By 1985, they were already selling out arenas and coliseums throughout Texas. So they were already big band with the Tejano stuff that they were doing. This is, you're talking freaking 6-7 years before Me Duele Estar Solo, Vida, Un Millón de Rosas. This is way before all those came into play. These guys were the biggest Tejano band, Yeah, and so I immediately called Dusty Reyes, which is my bass player. After I told my wife and I thought about it, I called Dusty. And this is like at 10:30 at night. And he answers the phone, Joseph. I'm like, Dusty. I go, dude, I have a question, bro.
Came with a legal name and everything.
Yeah, and I go, dude, I said, would you ever consider playing in a La Mafia tribute band? Like if I put a band together, we played the old school Mafia with the saxes, and he was like, really? I was like, yes. He's like, dude, I'm down. So we left it like that, right? The night goes on, and I keep, and mind you, I haven't had a thought like this, and I couldn't even tell you.
Sorry for interrupting, but at this time you weren't like touring or playing, as he said, tan seguido, right?
I was actually, at the time, I was actually playing with Chris Perez.
Okay.
I was playing with Chris Perez, and then we had the other side band, Grupo Metal, which Chris was in it as well. So I was staying pretty busy with that, and so I was like thinking. I went to bed. I woke up the next day, still thinking about it, and I'm like, man, okay. So I thought to myself, I said, okay, if I take this serious, I need to talk to Mondo, which Mondo from La Mafia, right? Out of respect,
At this point, is there any other tribute band for Tejano music? Because
technically there is. There's the Emilio Navaira with the Navaira boys, the Emilio sons. They have the Emilio tribute that they were before they were doing it by themselves. They were doing the Emilio Shoot It with the guys from his band from 1995. it was the Emilio's band, but his two sons. His son Diego was singing lead vocals, and Diego's brother Emilio the Fourth was playing guitar and singing as well. So that's one tribute that I knew, and of course, there's a bunch of Selena tribute bands out there, you know.
So
But
in general, bro, there's I have varios. Well, not just in Tejano, but I don't know if you know the. Es un hermano de Lupe Esparza from Bronco.
yes,
El que le ponían, they would put him in the back of the stage to play
percussion.
percussions.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, this is a whole ass story, you know. I think when they made the change of El Gigante de America, and then they put him actually on stage.
yes,
But then they pretty much took him out.
yeah,
You know, it goes like that. And but I guess he always stayed with that like espinita in him. To he wanted to be Bronco. He wanted to actually be part of the image.
of course.
And I think what he did now, a few years back, he made a tribute band, puras canciones de Bronco que they don't play live.
Well, see, okay,
Nothing but, like,
the
early
yeah,
80s
so that was
songs,
that was
all
that,
the
was the
bandit
concept.
songs.
That was the concept.
Yeah.
Is to do. Is as I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, they don't play any of these songs live. So then I started making a list. Right? Oh, well, first and foremost, I spoke to Mondo, and I just basically told Mondo, I said, Mr. Mondo, I said, in this world, my two favorite bands are Mötley Crüe and La Mafia. And if I would ever try to pay homage to anybody, it would be either or. I said, I would really like to make a La Mafia tribute band. And I said, but I want to play the songs, the Tejano songs. And I don't want to play any songs that have accordion.
What's that?
I said, I want to play the ones with the saxes and stuff like that. And I said, I want to put together a powerhouse band, and I would really, 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 really love to move forward with your blessing. And he told me that he was flattered, and that he said, man, that would be a great concept. And he was like, yeah. He said, I know that you would give it the integrity and the drive that it deserves. And I took it and ran with it. Now, the one thing that he did object was I was trying to come up with a name, right? So I was throwing out. I think the first because after after all that, I was trying to figure out, okay, what do we call it? Like I was trying to think, should we call it like I was gonna call it Electrifying Static because it's because there's an album called Electrifying, and then there's an album called Neon Static.
That'd have been dope.
Right? So I was trying to put them together, right? And then I was like, okay, well, what if I called it Mafia Mania? But I don't know because Mafia's in there. And then I was thinking, okay, what about Los Mafiosos? Because that's what they call their fans, and we're fans. So I said, I'm thinking about calling it Los Mafiosos. And that's when he said, well, now the name, I don't know about the he goes, I don't know about the name. He goes, what about an offset of one of our hits? And as soon as he said that, I thought about the song, Mi Loca Pasion. I just took away the me and called it Loca Pasion, a tribute to La Mafia. And then by the time he knew it, I started recruiting my guys. And the thing is that when it comes to and this is my opinion, when it comes to La Mafia music, I feel only certain people have the heart to play that music because it just has a very unique style that is different. You know what I mean?
Just get anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So and more so for authenticity purposes. Like my thing was, if I'm gonna go out there and attempt to pay tribute to the biggest Tejano band that ever be, I need to bring it 100 gazillion%. Yeah. So I figured, okay, my guitar player Danny, I already talked to Dusty, the bass player, and the thing is that the guys that I picked, we all went to the La Mafia University musically. That's the school we went to. So it was a no-brainer, But the funny thing is that Danny, my guitar player, I hadn't even talked to him yet, but he was already in my band. He didn't even know it yet. and then Weechi. So I called Danny and told him my idea, and he's like, "Dude, I'm down. When do you want to rehearse?" Like he was already ready to rock. No questions asked. And then Luis used to sing with a norteño band out of Houston called Grupo Inicio. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Grupo Inicio.
I don't think so.
They're like a norteño light band, and then so Inicio was on tour with Siggno back in 2018. And I've known Luis since we were like 19 years old. He used to sing in a band called Nemesis. And so Luis and I go way back. So when Inicio was on tour with Siggno, we had played a gig in Austin, Texas at the OK Corral. And I remember being outside the club and I heard right? And I went, oh, snap, they're playing La Mafia. So I went into the club and I went to the front of house. And then as soon as he started, Estoy haciendo aquí, I was like, damn, that sounds... And to me, to my ears, my thing was, man, Luis don't sound like Oscar, but he sounds badass singing this song, you know? So for me, I was like, there's no other person to handle that job in this band was Luis. And it's crazy because I messaged him and I said, hey, what's up, Luis? How are you, man? Hope all is well. And I hadn't talked to him since I left the band because my last year with Sigan was 2018 and they were on tour with us. So I messaged him and I said, give me a call when you get a chance. I want to talk to you about something. And it's crazy, bro, because he had just, when he called me, he was telling me, he was like, after the fact, he said, man, when I saw your message, I was like, what does Joey want? You know? and it's crazy because when he called me, I'm like, what's up, dude? What's going on? And I'm like, how you been? He's like, nothing much, man. And he just really told me that he had just had a talk with his wife that he was done singing in bands. Unless something came up that was
Joey
like,
Jimenez.
it's like unless something came up that he couldn't.
The idea.
And I just told him, I said, look, this is what I'm wanting to do. I said, Luis, and as far as I'm concerned, you're the guy. Mm-hmm. And he's like, bro, let's do it.
Damn,
and
so you didn't really struggle on not even convincing these guys.
No, man. You know what? Like, that's a blessing, bro. It really is. It really is.
Normally when you make a band, dude.
Yeah.
It's hard to get.
The one department. Actually, so one of my keyboard players, Eno Sepulveda, out of Gonzales, Eno has played the style. He knows the style. I knew he was one of the guys. I knew he would be the guy. Dusty was telling me, our bass player Dusty, he goes, what about Michael Molini on the other boards? He goes, Michael Molini, he'll learn the music. He knows how to, he'll make it exactly. I said, well, give me his number. Let me call him, So I tried getting a hold of him and I couldn't get a hold of him. And then Dusty said he kind of mentioned it to him. And he said, Joey said he'll call you. So then we kept passing each other. And then Dusty talked to him again. And after Dusty had kind of, told him what is it we were trying to do. So Molini started already listening to Mafia songs or started taking out some songs. So Dusty had called me and said, dude, I just got off the phone with Michael and he played me the song No Lo Haré. He goes, dude, and it sounds exactly like the album. And I was already like, oh, man. Yeah, I was getting hyped. So then I spoke to Michael finally and basically told him what it is we're doing. And he's like, and I didn't know, because the last band he was playing with was with Marcos Orozco. That was the tour, the guy he was touring with. And he had fairly got off the road because of his job. So I didn't know if it was something he would even want to do, And then he told me, he goes, let's do it. And I was like, oh my God. So the department that was the hardest for us was the sax player. Because I could go out there and perform these songs without a sax, but I wanted it to be a little bit more authentic sounding. And those songs have sax, and it's gonna enhance the sound. So I ended up reaching out to these three guys, which were like three of the best guys I thought of. And it's funny because each person, when I reached out to the first one, he was like, yeah. Then the next day he's like, no, I can't do it. And then
finally got complicated.
Yeah. And then the second guy, I reached out to him and he's like, yeah, dude, yeah, hell yeah, send me the songs, I'm down. And then like a week later, oh, Joey, I'm going through this personal stuff, I can't do it. And I was like, oh my God. Then the third guy, the same thing. Yeah, I'm down, cool, send him the music. A couple days later, I got so much going on. So I ended up finding a guy, we used him, it just, unfortunately, it didn't work out. He was a talented guy, great heart, but he lacked experience. And it's like we've all, we're seasoned,
Yeah.
So and especially that part, that instrument, that department in this band is so important, such a key part. And
It's like the heart,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So, we had to find somebody else, but dude, once we got what we needed and the way it's been, this point has been such a freaking huge blessing, bro. I mean, we released a 5-song EP in January, and it debuted at number 3 on iTunes, and later on that evening it went to number 1.
That's crazy.
And I was like, whoa, like talk about it's just I mean, I couldn't even tell you, bro. Like, it's just an amazing feeling
And then, like,
that
in this time being a year project.
exactly,
Like,
exactly, man.
just
So
tell you,
and then aparte, being able to see everybody's reaction and people that have reached out to us, whether they comment on our posts, they send us inboxes, or they tell us in person at our shows how much this music has brought them back, a part in their life. So many. I mean, I had a guy tell me, we played in Pearsall, and he, after the gig, he came up to me and he put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "You know what, Joey? No es por nada, bro." He goes, "You brought me to tears, man." He goes, "It brought me back to my mom in the kitchen cooking, listening to this music. And, I remember my mom and dad dancing to this music. My tios, barbecuing, listening to this. My mom and her sisters, they were all La Mafia, fangirls. And, like, I mean, it's just an amazing thing. And the fact that, and that's what I was going to say is, like, that's what separates us. Because if there's a lot of tribute bands out there, George Strait, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, Mötley Crüe, the list goes on. But if you go see these tribute bands, the majority, like 99.9% of these tribute bands play the same songs that the actual artist plays.
Yeah.
The
You go
éxitos.
exactly. So with Loca Pasion, we have 35 La Mafia songs that we perform. 4 of those La Mafia songs, Mafia plays today.
And the rest.
So we play 31 Mafia songs that they don't touch.
That they don't touch.
And when we go out there, and that's what separates us from. It's like we could literally, and I hope it gets to the powers that be. The ultimate would be for us to open up for La Mafia.
Andale Mafia. Andale Mafia. So whenever you got your whole team set up and everything, did y'all straight up went to recording, or did y'all get some gigs?
So we started rehearsing last year, and here's the funny thing. The very first rehearsal that we ever did, it was just me, Dusty, our bass player, Danny, the guitar player, and Luis. We got in a room, and I promise you guys, we probably started around 1 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
We played Mafia songs till about 8:30 at night. That's how much,
were enjoying
dude.
it.
Yes,
Yeah,
dude,
you
we
were
were just.
enjoying
And then it was funny. We didn't have no keyboard player, right? So I would put, I would play the keys leads on the mic, and we did that, and it was more so just to kind of get a feel, because me, Danny, and Dusty had never played together as a rhythm section, and dude, it just fit like a glove, bro. And Luis was singing, and
Luis is from Houston.
he's from Monterrey.
Does he live in Houston?
He lives in Houston.
I think I went to his house actually, bro.
Really?
Yeah, he used to play with Inicio, right?
Yeah.
The accordion player is Kike, and those 3 brothers, right?
Yeah.
Kike and them. I
Yeah,
I
man.
Them and their dad. I think I jammed out at their house one time at Luis.
Oh, really?
Alberto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luis
Yeah,
Alberto, El
Shout out
Luigi.
to Cometa, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Cometo, yeah.
Yeah, I was just mentioning right now. Whenever you said El Grupo Inicio, I was like, I know them. I looked it up and I saw him. I was like, I've been to that guy's house, man.
Yeah,
Shout out
man.
to him, también.
Yeah,
Muy
exactly.
buena gente.
Shout out Cactus Studios for letting us borrow the studio here
Yeah,
in Dallas,
I
Texas.
appreciate it. Man, shout out to you guys for the invite.
Oh, yeah.
for this,
We
man.
had to. We had
I
to.
appreciate that, man. It's trust me, man. It's such an amazing feeling, Like for example, we do what we do because we love what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really do it for acknowledgement.
Yeah.
But the fact that the acknowledgement is there, it's a beautiful blessing, So on my behalf to you guys, I appreciate, because, I come from a different world, and to be accepted in this world and to be accepted in the Norteño world, especially when I was with Siggno, like I was telling these guys on our way up here, with Mr. Simon Borrajas had given me massive props on a podcast saying that I was the best drummer in Norteño music. And I'm like, or he was saying that I came with a different fusion than anybody's ever had in the genre. And you know, I mean, dude, I mean, I'd be on. I mean, we're playing when I was with Siggno, we're playing on bills, and you know, you got your pesados, duelos, traileros, invasores. You know, the list goes on, and then you have me in shorts with Vans. You know, there. You know what I mean?
Hey, bro, but you know, remember we were talking about it in the truck. That, like, you know, when you joined Signal, the first thing you said was like, "I'm not dressing like that."
Yeah, that was.
But
Yeah.
it's crazy because pretty much like sin querer queriendo, like all these guys started following your kind of
basically
trend,
started
kind of
like
concept
the
thing.
Rockteño movement.
They
Yeah.
turned into the rock, the whole rock.
You know what? It's. I mean,
Because they were cowboys, you know. They
Yeah,
were
yeah, for sure, yeah.
You know, like
and the thing is that I mean, I appreciate everybody that has linked me to the originator of that, you know, and I mean, I was just being me, you know, I was just being true to who I was, and I never once like picked on them like for you know, for trying to come this way. You know what I mean? If anything, I would tell them like, "Hey," or I would tell Turner like, "Hey, you need to get some pants like us," or you know what I mean? Like, and then eventually, you know, he was like, "Hey, I want something like that," and then we eventually became what it was.
Look at those cool ass pics, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And you know, it's because until this day, you know, after you left, it's still that thing stayed. That
Yeah,
whole
and you know, and
never
believe it or
changed
not,
anymore.
him and I actually, we talked about that, and I stressed my gratitude, and I said, you know, I appreciate the fact that you're still continuing what I started there.
Yeah, muy perro.
You know,
It really.
They never like kind of hit the credit or anything like that. They never like, oh no, it wasn't Joey, or did they?
I don't know. I couldn't speak on that. I just remember. All I know is that we went to a TV show. I believe it was a TV show in Mexico City, and the guy looked at us and said, "What are y'all? like, ustedes son rockeros o norteños o son rockteños?"
Marcianos.
Yeah, that's how it came out, you know. And the fact that that's how it came out, but everybody would say, "Well, but you started that," and then everybody turned that. You know what I mean?
Cool, man.
And
on the Violet Flyers, it was a Signal Rockteño.
yeah.
I think
And-
in
and
the
it-
trailer it says that nowhere in
Yeah.
the back of the bus.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that a guy, I guess, maybe a couple of weeks ago, Richard Rosales, the bajo player, he made a video on TikTok.
Oh,
and
that,
I-
I seen it, bro.
about the eyeliner, right? Okay, so check this out. A guy actually, I don't know if it was a guy or a girl, commented on one of my videos on TikTok. Oh, I had shared like a throwback video of me playing Despacito, and a person commented and said, "Did they also make you wear eyeliner?" I said, "Bro, I've been wearing eyeliner since I was 19 years old." I said, "I remember when I joined Siggno, or I was es más, I wasn't even in the band yet. I was helping them out. At the first gig we played in Corpus, and I was at Turner's house. I'll never forget for as long as I live. I was getting dressed for the gig, and I was in his restroom, and I was putting eyeliner on, and he walked in. He goes, "¿Tú te pintas también?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, I mean, I knew Richard did, but Richard didn't know I did. You know, like, and it wasn't like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna do it because you." I mean, I've been doing it since I was 19, and Richard, you know, he's been doing it too for a long time. But it's just something that it's about. It's about us being rockers. That's what we do. Like, it's because we like it. You know, it's my wife sometimes borrows mine. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Presta,
yeah,
presta.
like, and people, and I trip out, man, when people are like, y'all are gay, or you want to be gay, or whatever. I'm like, dude, like, my wife loves it. That's all that matters. You know, carry on, like,
Yeah.
you know.
So when does Joey Jimenez become Joey Jimenez? Like from AB to Siggno to collabing with Koe Wetzel, you know, Vanilla Ice, Turner, all these people. When does JMZ come, you know, into play?
Well, the jams thing started when I was with Siggno, and that's okay. That's another thing. So people, again, not me. People, okay, not me. I don't go over there saying things or whatever. But I didn't start jams. It wasn't my idea. I didn't wake up one day thinking that, you know what? I should start a clothing brand and everybody's gonna wear my shit.
Also, it means jams, not JMZ.
No, it's jams. Yeah. No, so check it out.
Okay, okay,
So the road manager that we used to have back in the day, we were driving to Corpus, and she tells me, "You know what? You should start a clothing brand." I was like, what? She's like, yeah. She goes, you're different. Like you're different than everybody else in this genre. Like, look, you have your own little style. And I was like, what? I looked at it like I cannot see people buying something that I made or put my name on it or whatever it was going to be. And I just didn't see it. I didn't see it. And she was like, you should. So anyways, maybe about a week or two later, she tells me there's this guy from from San Antonio. His name is Juan. He could help you start this. And I just went along for the ride. It's okay. Let's just see what happens. So as I'm meeting this guy, he comes up to me. He had a t-shirt shop there at the mall in San Antonio. And he goes, hey, so, you want to start this brand? And I was like, yeah, man, let's see what's up. He goes, well, on my way over here, I was trying to think what could you call it? He goes, and then I started thinking about your last name, Jimenez. He goes, and then Jimenez, the 3 letters that popped out was the J, the M, and the Z. So I wrote it down, and how do you pronounce that? And I was like, jams? He goes, and what do? You jam on the drums.
That fit perfectly.
So that he wrote it down on a piece of paper. He put J, M, and he put the Z backwards like an S. He goes, here, you can have it. That's yours. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you can have it. Like that could be your name. And that's where I started. Okay, shit. Okay, I got a name. but so believe it or not, I held on to that for like about a year. Of just, it was like a good conversation starter. Joey, so what have you been up to? Nothing much, man. I think I'm gonna start to get this brand going or whatever. But really, yeah. But I didn't do nothing for a year. Just talked mess. And then one day, shout out to my boy Thomas Diaz, because if it wasn't for Thomas Diaz, that got me out of my house. He got tired of hearing me just talk about it, and I'll never forget. He called me and said, "Where you at?" I'm like, "I'm at my mom's." He goes, "I'm on my way over there." This is like again at 10 at night. Picks me up, and I'm like, "What are we going?" He goes, "Well, I'm gonna take you somewhere." So he takes me to this place, to the Sigan print shop. Our friend Jason, shout out to Jason. He had already told Joey, I think Joey wants to do this brand or whatever. So he already kind of filled him in, for whatever. So we showed up, and he's like, "So Thomas tells me you want to start a clothing line or something?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I've been talking about it, whatever." He goes, You what is it, JMZ? I said, it's pronounced jams, but yeah. And he goes, okay, you have a logo? I was like, no. He's like, okay. He got on his computer and JMZ, all right. And then 1,000 logos. So we just started going down. No. And then we finally got to one, and I was like, I think that's the one. And then he's like, okay. He goes, so if you made a t-shirt, what would you put on it? And I was like, hold on. I had a picture of a thing. It was like in the Run DMC font. It said, I am drums. So I said, well, let's take away the drums and put I am jams. And then I showed it to him, and he goes, are you pressed for time or something? I said, no, man, I'm good. He goes, give me a second. So then he leaves, but he had already put the template on the computer. And it was like the template t-shirt, and it was the logo. And I was like, dang, like that's, I'd never seen anybody do that. About 25, 30 minutes later, he shows up and he just throws me a shirt. And I was like, holy shit, like it was in my hand. It was physically in my hand, in the flesh. And I told Thomas, I said, dude, take a picture of me holding this right now. So, and it was a white one, and he took a picture of it, and I posted it about almost midnight. Dude, my phone went crazy. People, when is it available? Do you have it in black? Do you have it in big boy sizes? Like it's just crazy, man. And that's where that started.
Is that the first design right there?
The first design.
So when you're doing the
okay, so check it out. Okay, so this logo, right? Okay, so I had taken a photo shoot just to have pictures, right?
Okay.
Not que ver with the gems thing, or maybe I would make. They were for posters. I wanted to make posters, right?
Okay.
Because I wanted to do posters and for aparte from the t-shirts and stuff, and have people could buy posters of me or whatever to offer different accessories. So I did the photo shoot, and I'll never forget. This is in Immokalee, Florida, at the Bull Rider. We're on break. playing with Siggno, and Checo and I, shout out to Checo, we went into Elida Reina's RV. They were on stage. We were in her RV getting food out of the refrigerator, and Checo, I go, oh Checo, check out the pictures from my photo shoot, right? So I'm showing him pictures and this and that, blah blah blah, and it comes to the picture of me doing the handstand, and I go, check this out, and he's like, dude, like what the hell? So he literally gets my phone, puts it on the table, he puts a napkin over the picture, he zooms it in, and he traced it with a pin. He goes, look, like Michael Jordan. And I was like, dang. So I kept the napkin. I still have it in my house. I have a picture in my phone. Watch, I'll pull it. I'll show you guys so you can check it out.
What made you want to do the handstand?
Oh, I was gonna say. So check it out. So what I was taking pictures on the drum set and everything. So when I got done with the drum set scene pictures, I told my photographer. I said, hey, I want to try this thing with the drums, like like a skateboarder does a handstand on the half pipe.
yeah.
And he was like, yeah. I said, okay, I want to try. So when I showed him, I go, I'm gonna put the drums like this, and then I'm gonna pick myself up. When I go in the air, snap the picture. So when I did it the first time, he was like, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to do. So, dude, I promise you guys, I did that like 40 times.
Was it time?
And the 40th time was the one. And it's crazy because if you look at the picture, yeah, it looks Photoshop. Look how perfect!
real.
Look how perfect my foot is in the air.
Is that how it finally came out whenever you did the
But well, that's the picture.
that's the
That's the
final
actual
picture?
picture. Yeah.
Oh.
Like I did. Like I lifted myself up. That you're talking about maybe 1 or 2 seconds that I was in the air and then I fell down.
You don't,
They did
you don't
really
have the,
good. They-
you
they
don't
caught
have
it
the
right
other
on.
pictures anymore, bro?
The what?
You don't have the ones that didn't come out good no more?
I don't know. Maybe Juan does. Juan Martinez, my photographer. Maybe he does have the bloopers.
Yes.
Like we even tried to have my homie Thomas and my other friend Johnny lift me up.
Send me that so I can put it right
Look,
here.
That's the
Like this?
Okay.
the thing that Chico traced over. I kept it.
Is that the collectors you were telling us about? Is that one of the Toms?
No, that's my friend
Better than
Smokes.
Stripper,
He let me use that drum set for that photo shoot.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when I did that, the I have the original logo in here. So I took all this with me to Midland to my friend Ben Ozuna's. He's a graphic designer, and he basically took the original logo that I used at my friend's print shop, and he took this picture of me. He made the picture black, well, the silhouette, which is that, you know,
Yeah.
and then we modified the logo, and that's what became what it became. And what's crazy about it is that I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was being necio with him because he was saying about people and fans and stuff. I said, you know what? I said, let me tell you something. I go, you've been around a lot of bands. He's like, yeah. He started mentioning like, Solido and Intocable, Duelo and all them. I said, they have big fan bases, right? He's like, yeah. I said, but how many bands do you know have their logos tattooed on their bodies? I said, and I'm just a drummer.
Yeah.
And I showed him, I have an album in my phone, I'll show you guys, of all the people that have the Jams logo tattooed on their body.
There's multiple people?
Dude, there's like 30 people so far.
Really?
That look, check it out.
Oh, that's sick.
On their neck, on their legs, on their back.
And you have a whole album of
Signals?
those?
Yeah.
The Signals?
That's badass.
And when I showed him that, he was like, whoa, dude, I've never seen that before.
You're like the Michael Jordan of drummers,
I
bro.
was about to say that. I was about to
Look.
say.
Está perro eso, eh?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, especially because your logo, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
like-
badass
Yeah.
logo, too.
So that became that, dude, and that's really how it was, and people, and I remember playing a gig. I noticed it. We played in Houston at it was a festival, and there was a bunch of different bands, and I just so happened, I remember getting off the bus to go check out the production or whatever, and I was walking back to the bus. As I was walking back to the bus, a girl and they were from the radio station. They were in a golf cart, and they were passing me, And as they were passing me, I read her lips, and she said, JMZ. And like, you know what I mean? It was like, she looked at me and she goes, JMZ. And I was like, wow, that was cool, man. You know, and people still call me that. I mean, they don't, but it's Jams. That's what it is. But
I thought it was JMZ, to
even
be
with,
honest.
like with Koe Wetzel, that's what they called me. They called me Joey Jams. Like, Joey Jams, Joey Jams, you know? But yeah, man.
How was that with Koe Wetzel?
Dude. Now that experience right there, honest to God, was probably, with the exception of Loca Pasion being my band, it was probably one of the best highlights in my career, because for the first time in my life, I was actually out there playing rock music or rock style music, and being on stage in front of thousands of people with pyrotechnics. And I thought I was playing Koe Wetzel music to the people, but in my head, I was playing Girls, Girls, Girls from Mötley Crüe. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was living that
You
thing.
were the Tommy Lee.
Yeah, dude.
Tommy Lee Jams.
Yeah, dude. And what was even probably one of the most how do you say it, great feelings of it is when they asked me to go out and fill in the month of that month that I did with them. I had asked them for a live recording prior. I said, can you send me a live recording so I can study how you play these songs and whatever. So, dude, I would literally every day, I would just put one AirPod in my ear and I would play that live recording throughout the entire day. And sometimes I wouldn't even pay attention. It was just playing in there. And I would go about my day, and then I would listen to it and whatever. And then I did that for maybe about a week. And then I told my wife, I said, okay, I need to set up my drums and I need to play to it, because listening to it is one thing, and then playing and choosing the voices, how you're gonna produce this live, you know. So I knew that I was gonna use their drum kit, and it was a 3-piece SJC kit, and then I knew how I was gonna set my cymbals up. So I set up the rig at my wife's boutique, and I went in, and so when they check this out, so when they tell me we're gonna have rehearsals in Austin on this day, and it was actually 2 weeks before I was gonna go and play with him. So they told me be there at 11, and we had the place from 11 to 9 at night. I'm like, okay. So we got in the night before. They got us a hotel room, and that's another thing. Shout out to the Koe Wetzel camp, because they told me, like, hey, bring your wife so she could see how we run things, and you know, like, they could check it out. And I was like, wow, thank you, man. So they put us in a hotel and took care of us. You know, red carpet, class act, everything was like super awesome. The day of rehearsal, I show up, and dude, Koe Wetzel they were all unloading stuff from their semi. Like, he was not he was hands on. You know what I mean? So that's the thing where I was like, wow, like to check out. And so I started setting up the drum kit and getting it dialed in and everything. Once we got the in-ears checked, I sat behind the drums, and I'm like, okay, so and then Cole said, let's run it from the top, which was from the top of the show. So, dude, we played the first half of the show, took a break, ate Chick-fil-A, talked for a little bit, went back, played the second half of the show, got done, and I'm assuming we're going to run it back.
No.
He goes, bro, we could have played a gig right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, y'all, are we good? And he's like, we're more than good. So, all right. So I put my sticks in my stick bag, and mind you, so now I'm thinking, okay, that was on a Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oh no, that following Thursday is when I was gonna play with him. So I assumed we'll probably go over some stuff at sound check, as you do, right?
It's like a week and a half later.
I said we'll probably go over some stuff, refreshing the memory, you know. I get there the day before, and then the day of the show, I'm really excited. I'm up early. I go and I see the production, and I love that about being on tour. You know, seeing the production go up, and I've always been like that. Even with Siggno and with AB, like, I've always wanted to be with the roadies, and like, I was just that dude. Yeah. And so I'm there, and we get the drum set up and mic'd up and line checked, and we do this sound check of a song that's an instrumental, or not an instrumental, but it's a song that the bass player Mason sings. So I'm waiting, like, well, are we gonna go over anything? So once we finished playing, Mason told me, just give me a backbeat and we're just gonna riff just to kind of get a line check for the outside. Okay, cool. So we start rocking and we get done and I'm like,
That's it.
they start taking off their guitars and shit. And I'm like,
It's just like, oh shit.
I don't say nothing. I'm like, oh, damn, okay. Well, then let me go get something to eat. Let me go to the bunk, put the live recording on again, and just study. So, dude, I promise you, dude, I promise, by the grace of God, when it was showtime, it's like, right before the showtime, Dre, the manager at the time, he tells me, okay, after the show, you can come back in the bus. We'll talk about the show for about, 20 minutes. If there's anything that needs to be corrected or whatever, I said, okay, cool. So I get off, go to the side of the stage on where Monitor World's at, and this is a sold out show of 6,000 people in this hall. And I'm like, they're screaming already, and I'm like, damn. And then it's like the minute I go where the band's at, and the minute Mason says, all right, let's go. We start walking to the stage, and it's like everything just went quiet. And I felt like I was just walking into my bedroom, getting in bed, watching TV. Sat behind the drum set, made sure everything, hit the click, played the show, flawless, bro. And more so, validation was after the gig. When I get done, of course, I gotta go to the bus. As soon as I walked in the bus, excuse my French, Cole was like, Joey JMZ, you motherfucker. Gave me a hug, and everybody embraced me. He was like, oh my, like that was like, and I couldn't wait to tell my wife, like, that was such a success. And every show we did was like that. And then
How long did you end up playing with Koe Wetzel?
about a month,
How many
month?
shows was that, bro?
like 15.
Oh shit. No.
Shit.
Yeah. And dude, it was freaking, it was an amazing experience. There was talks about that there might have been the opportunity for me to join the band. Now, whether that's true or not, what I do know is this is crazy, the last gig on that tour that I was doing with him, my dad passed away that morning, and I was in College Station. No, I was in Beaumont. We played Beaumont the night before. I knew my dad was in the hospital. And the next morning, when I woke up, my brother texted me that my dad passed away at 7:19 in the morning. And then we got dressed. I woke up my wife, because my wife ended up coming to the last two shows in Texas. And I was a mess, and I'm like, well, I got to go play, like, but I know my dad, like I was saying earlier, I know my dad, and my dad, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You got to go do what you got to go do, and what better therapy for me than to go out and do what I do.
Either way, I'm sure that's what he would have wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So nobody knew. Nobody knew.
You kept it to yourself.
The only person that knew was Dre, the road manager. And I go set up and we go play the gig, and the gig is 10,000 people. Crazy. Get done with the gig, everybody knew it was my last gig. And they help me with my gear, take it to the car. And I said, let me go say bye to everybody, And I went and said bye to everybody. Thanked everybody for everything. I mean, it was an amazing experience, bro. Like, to be out there, like, I felt like, freaking rock star out there, and everything that and here's the funny thing is that, like, my first gig, I had told Dre, I said, look, all I want out of this tour is I just want a picture of me playing drums with fire behind me. That's what I want. Yeah. So he's like, he goes, I got you, bro. So
Look it up, Brandon. Look it up.
Yeah. So I got, I got to have that happen. The picture with all the flames behind me, and so that night I will go say bye to everybody, and I go in the bus, and I say bye to Cole, and he tells me, hey, I'm gonna hit you up on Monday, and I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, we need to talk. And I was like, all right. So he goes, so I'll hit you up on Monday. Don't forget. I was like, I didn't know what that meant, you know? So I was just like, man. So then after the College Station gig, I drive to my hometown, Seguin, because I want to go be with my family because of what happened with my dad. And then that Monday morning, I announced that my dad had passed away. And then everybody left me alone. So I never got to talk to him about, everybody left me alone. And that's the picture right there.
Yeah, that's the famous picture. That's a badass picture right there.
Bueno, si sale la foto.
That's it.
Like that, yeah.
And what was that at?
That picture was taken at the Zoo Amphitheater in Oklahoma City.
With Koe?
With Koe Wetzel, yeah. And then what's crazy is that, see, that's an outdoor show, right? Yeah. And of course, the fire is hot.
Super.
It's hot. You know, and there's no doubt about that. It's hot. But when we did it in Beaumont, it was indoor. And when all 6 of those things went off, bro, I literally was like, ow.
You need a fire extinguisher next to you.
Yeah, dude, it was hot, bro. Yeah. But I mean, that's like, to me, that's like my favorite picture behind the drums ever. Because I mean, I feel like I'm playing Mötley Crüe music right there.
It literally looks like
you know?
Yeah.
So it was an amazing experience, and probably one of the best compliments in my entire career was the fact that he told me that I made them sound better.
Especially a drummer.
And that for me, that was everything, you know. And shout out to the Koe Wetzel camp. They still treat us like family, you know, arms open when I see them. And I mean, I'll forever have that part of my, you know, that'll forever be tattooed in my career.
You're sponsored by Pasty? I'm just seeing that from that.
Go back to that website, the email.
Yeah, just click on that.
Yeah, I've been a Pasty member for 16 years.
I mispronounce everything, huh? It's Pasty.
Pasty, yeah.
Pasty, JMZ.
It's Pasty. Yeah, no, believe it or not. So check it out. So before Pasty, I was playing Zildjian. That's all I ever played was Zildjian. That's all I ever knew was Zildjian cymbals. And then when I was playing with AB, our conga player, Albert, he was endorsed with Pasty. And he goes, hey, you never thought about playing Pasty cymbals? And I was like, no. He goes, dude, we're in the same band. I bet you I can get you with him. Yeah. Sure enough, 45 minutes later, they sent me a contract.
Damn, that fast?
That fast.
So sponsored by Pasty on cymbals and then heads.
And well, the only companies that I'm endorsed with are Pasty and a head drumsticks.
Right? Yeah.
And here's a funny story about a head drumsticks. So for people that are not familiar with the head drumsticks, they're aluminum drumsticks, like graphite. They're not wood.
Yeah, one time I tried to play on them things, bro. But
me too. When we use like the click.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Well, see, okay, a head offers a rim called the S hoop. It's a hoop.
Oh yeah.
So with that S hoop, you can get a rim shot out of it. So that's what I have on my snares.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, when I started and the only reason why I started using the head sticks is because Tommy Lee was using them.
Yeah.
Like I saw him, and I'm like, man, what are those? I want to play those because that's what he played, you know. And come to find out, that's the whole purpose of having. That's the whole purpose of an endorser because you want people to buy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
aluminum, right?
What's that?
They're aluminum, right?
They're aluminum,
You
yeah.
ever thought of using the steel ones that Metallica's drummers uses? What's
That's
the
the head sticks.
That's a head.
Oh, really?
That's what those are. Yeah, they're the head sticks. And so when I went to the music store, those things were $30 a pair. And I'm like, I mean, at the time I was using Vic Firth. I mean ProMark. ProMarks were like $8. You know what I mean? So at the time, I only
What
bought
are they called?
A head.
Drumsticks.
Oh, a head drumsticks.
Yeah. So when I started buying them, I would only buy one pair. And people, and it was funny because like the myth was that they never break.
Yeah.
You know, they're never going to break. And so I started using them.
Were they just bend or what?
Well, check it out. I started using them, and one time, and I'll never forget, I was practicing on my pad on my porch at my house, and I was just chopping it up, and all of a sudden, I guess one hit and it broke, and I was like, what the hell? But I had them already for like 7-8 months. Like they last way longer than they last way longer than wood sticks. But the thing is that since they were so expensive, there was a brochure at the music store, right? And in the back was their number. And this is like in 2002, 2003. So I call it. And I talked to a representative. I was like, hey, my name's Joey Jimenez. You know, I'm from Seguin, Texas, and I've been playing drums. Just kind of give him a little, bio about myself. And I said, I'm a big fan of head drumsticks, but do you guys do like half endorsements or something like this? Because I'm gonna be honest, your sticks are expensive. You know?
I just saw $36.
Yeah.
Inflation.
Yeah. and the guy said, well, I don't know if you're familiar with our roster. You know, we have Class A touring drummers that tour worldwide. You know, we got the drummer for Mötley Crüe, we got the drummer for Metallica, we got the drummer for AC/DC, Def Leppard, and so on. Basically telling me no. I'm like, all right,
Like,
cool.
who are you? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
So then years go by. I still use them though. So once I start playing with AB, well, I start making a little bit more money, right? So now I could buy them by the bulk, by the brick, which was 12 pairs. So, and I was using the Tommy Lee concerts, which are they're 17 inches long. It's like equivalent to a Vic Firth metal stick, the one with the red tip. Okay, it's about the same diameter, same everything. So, and believe it or not, the Vic Firth metal stick was the Tommy Lee signature stick before he went with a head. So I started buying them by the bulk, and one time, one of my orders came in, and my friend Angela Scott, who was one of the managers at Sam Ash Music in San Antonio, she says, hey, your sticks came in. I was like, okay, awesome. She goes, when you get here, come to the back. I need to talk to you. I said, okay, cool. So I go to the back when I get there, and she goes, and the box was on her desk. She goes, here are your sticks. And I was going to grab them. She goes, wait. I go, what's up? She goes, so I got a call from their A&R guy that they were wanting to know that we're selling that many Tommy Lee sticks. And she's like, oh, no. My friend Joey Jimenez, he plays drums for the Kumbia Kings with Kumbia All-Stars and stuff. He uses the Tommy Lee sticks and he buys them, you know. You know that guy? She was like, well, yeah. Well, apparently somebody that worked for a head or whatever saw me performing on Don Francisco Presenta with AB, and they saw me using the gloves, the sticks, and they're like, who's this guy? He's on this big show. Who's this guy? So, small world, they found out who I was. They offered me a full ride. And she said, all I need is a bio from you, and this will probably be the last time you have to pay for sticks for the rest of your life. Damn. And I was like, real quick. So what was cool about it is that on the website at the time, when they had all the freaking rock stars that were there, I'm talking, dude, think about it. Def Leppard, Metallica, Bon Jovi, AC/DC, Mötley Crüe, Scorpions, Fleetwood Mac, and then it said Latin America, and then there was a picture of me.
That's badass. That's badass.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So yeah. I've been very blessed, man. Oh, and so I got with them. This was in 2006, 7, and then in 2013 they offered me my own signature stick.
Oh yeah.
Badass.
So
That's sick.
yeah, so I have
What are the diameters of your stick?
it's the exact same thing as the Tommy Lee stick. The only difference is the writing color, the tip, the sleeve. That's how I was able to customize it. So my stick has it's the same Tommy Lee Concert Series stick, but the head writing is in red, and the sleeve is white, the tip is black, and the butt is white. So that makes it that only stick like that in the entire world.
All right. But yeah, I remember seeing something that you put skateboard tape on your kick pedal.
Yeah. Okay. So I was watching. Who was it? I think it was one of the heavy metal drummers. I don't remember if it was Vinnie Paul or somebody. Somebody had grip tape.
I think it was Vinnie Paul.
And I was like, I wonder if that really works, you know? And just I mean, again, because I thought it was cool, and I went to Vans because I'm a Vans life, baby.
Right.
Shout out.
And shout out to Vans, waiting for that callback.
Sponsor.
Yeah, waiting for that sponsorship. Yeah, I went to Vans and bought a sheet of grip tape for skateboard, and I cut it, and I used it, and dude, it's crazy because a lot of people they depend on the slide of the pedal to do triplets and stuff like that, right? But you know, when I was playing with AB, sometimes we play outdoor concerts. It would be wet. My shoes would get wet. I get on the drums and it's just uncomfortable. With the grip, I got so used to it that it's spot on 100%. Yeah. So, and then people were like, "What is that? Es cinta?" Or like, who was telling me? Ivan, shout out to Ivan from Duelo. He was asking me about my beaters. like he goes, hey, esos son de madero, ¿qué onda, compadre? I said, sí, güey. Ya tengo casi 20 años usando esos. And he was freaking out. He went and bought him some. Brian Hernandez from Secreto went out and bought him, wood beaters. Like, the thing about me is like, it's like I noticed the snare has the Power Stroke 3 head on it, right?
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine said, do you use the Power Stroke 3? I was like, no. He's like, you don't? Eso es todo lo que usan en norteño. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, but I said, no, man, I use control sound. He's like, what? I go, yeah, that's what Lars Ulrich uses from Metallica.
Yeah.
Really? I said, yeah, and I just tweak it the way I tweak it.
You don't even know, like, me atrevo a decir que, like, you don't even know why, but since you see one of the top guys that are in the
You just wanna use
genre,
that.
like,
Yeah.
fuck it, I just gotta follow what this guy
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it is, bro. It's like what you were saying. This is a trata del sponsorship. I remember in un tiempo I would see that a lot of the drummers, especially the Monterrey ones, I think Adrian también, they were all using Aquarium.
Yes.
Yeah, they were all sponsored.
See, who
and
told
I
me?
started, and I'm like, man, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking follow the trend too. But that's the whole point of the
Yeah,
sponsorship.
well, at my friend Eric Sanchez, shout out to Eric from Masore. Eric is endorsed with Aquarian. And he goes, hey, compito, te quieren patrocinar, güey, de Aquarium. Yeah, Timalero, monster, Timalero. Great drummer, too. And he was like, yeah, ¿qué te pareces? ¿Jalas o qué? I was like, I'm not a fan, güey. I don't like Aquarian heads. He's like, neta, son gratis, güey. I said, no, güey, no. I just, and that's the thing is like, even when I was playing with AB, I had the opportunity. We were in Miami one time for promotion, and they took us to the Gibson Guitar Factory. And at the time, Gibson had merged with a bunch of different companies, and one of those companies was Slingerland Drums. And Robert De La Garza, or no, Robert Trevino. I'm sorry, Robert Trevino, who was a rep for Gibson. We were there at this factory. I mean, they had a Gibson's huge. It was a huge warehouse. I was like, damn. So, and he goes, come here, Joey. I'm gonna show you something. And he took me into this room, and there was just shields of boxes, dude, of Slingerland drums. And he gave me a box cutter. He goes, whichever drum kit you want, you could take it. And I was like, for real? And he goes, yeah. So I opened up the box, and I was looking at him, and I'm like,
They're too old school.
I'm not a fan. Yeah. I did it. And AB, dude, I didn't ever heard the end of it from AB. He goes, what are you doing? They're free, fool. Like, take a kit to have at home or something. But I don't know, man. Excuse me.
In the country world, but not so much in the rock world.
Yeah, and I was just like, I don't know, man. I've always wanted to play stuff that I genuinely like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
remember you were telling me earlier that you wanted DW because it caught your attention when you were young, right?
Because of Tommy Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, and you didn't know how they really sounded. or anything.
I did not. Because he was
a lot of us
the first drum set that I ever fell in love with, where I was like, oh my God, this is the drum set, was Pearl. And I saw him on the modern. You guys ever see the Modern Drummer magazines back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I would get the Modern Drum magazines, I would see the Pearl displays and whoever drummer was playing Pearl, and just the drums, the way they looked, the rods, I mean the lugs, the boom stands, you see, look at that, that's beautiful, man.
The old school ones.
Yeah, beautiful
those,
drums.
Long-ass cymbal arms.
Yeah, and I
look up the old ones.
like that was the drum set of my dreams, and then Tommy Lee started playing Pearl in late '86. He started playing Pearl, and then he went from Pearl to DW. And then when I saw the DW, I was like, I didn't even know what DW stood for. I just thought, I want that drum set because that's what my hero plays. And it took me a while until I was able to get my first one, but I got it and I became a DW guy. And it's so weird because I've always felt like I guess amongst my peers, right? I've always was different than everybody. You know, if everybody was going right, I went left. You know what I mean? And I got DW drums before a lot of people had DW drums. And then once DW became like really, really popular, I started looking elsewhere. And then I believe it or not, I came across this ad on Craigslist, and it was a drum kit.
I had one of those. Bro.
Yeah, it was a drum kit, and it was a pearl white It was a D-Drum Dios Maple kit, and it was a 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 20-inch kick drum, 24-inch bass drum, and a 13-inch snare for like $900. I immediately reached out to that person, and it just so happened that the drums belonged to a friend of mine by the name of Chris Lee. Shout out to Chris Lee at his studio. And we didn't realize that it was each other until I showed up to the studio, because I messaged the post on Craigslist and said, I am interested. Give me details. So they told me that drum set was used for a studio session. The guy used it one time. They bought it brand new. They used it one time, put it in the closet. So when I got there, Chris Leak he goes, dude, you come and pick up those drums? I'm like, yeah. He goes, dude, these drums are bad. So I got them. I put them in my car. I went to the music store, got heads for them, took them on tour with Siggno, and that's the drum set that's on Siggno Live. Is the D drum? Is the D drum?
Okay.
And I used it. I used it for about a good maybe like 2 years, and then but the bass drum was really deep, And I was like, man, I don't know about that. So I ended up getting rid of that. I brought my DW drum kit back on the road, and then I used my DW drum kit for a while, and then I ended up getting. I got the Pearl acrylic crystal beat, and I got that one because Tommy Lee went back to Pearl, and he had an acrylic one, and it looked bad, bro. Yeah. So I got the Pearl acrylic. I used that for about a year, and then I ended up getting that custom DW. Well, it was a DW performance kit, the black one that I got custom painted.
The one that you got painted.
Yeah, the one that I got painted.
Yeah.
And then from there I ended up going back to DW. Then I made the drastic change that shook the world, that I ended up playing Gretsch drums.
Yeah, dude, I actually even messaged you like, hey, what made you change?
And the thing about the Gretsch drums is Gretsch is like their famous slogan is that great Gretsch sound.
You would never consider on changing the hardware, bro? Because you still use all that 9000 stuff.
Well, but okay, so check. This is how weird I am, right? So I felt, okay, I could play the acrylic pearls and still use my DW hardware, right? I said, but if I were to buy a pearl, like maple kit or whatever, I want all pearl stands. Pearl everything. So when I got the Gretsch, I'm like, I could get away with, because if you see Gretsch drums online, the majority of the time they have DW hardware on the drum kit. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I can get away with that.
Do they make their own hardware?
I believe so. Yeah. I believe so. But I don't know, man. The drums just, at the end of the day, I started, how do you say, like, it's like when you pick a wife, right? You gotta be with somebody that you're gonna love for the rest of your life, for inside, not for the looks. You know what I'm saying? And trust me when I say this, DW makes amazing drums. Like I said in the truck, they're the most gorgeous looking drums out there. Yeah, no doubt. But in my opinion, I just feel Gretsch drums sound better any day of the week.
What Gretsch are you rocking with right now?
I'm using a USA Custom Gretsch, yeah. And it sounds like, I've gotten so many compliments in the studio. I've gotten so many compliments live. I had a guy recently, I was playing with Jaime Dianda, and he was telling me, he goes, man, Joey, and I just used the 24, 12, 16. He goes, I've mixed a bunch of bands. I've used 7-piece kits, whatever. He goes, and this is the best sounding drum set. He goes, tengo que poner EQ? Nada. He goes, if you have a great drum kit, tuned well, the drummer knows how to hit. Because see, I had to learn all this stuff later on in life, because I'll give you a perfect example. When I was playing with Siggno, we did a concert in Houston. I'm not going to say the band, but there was a band that was playing right after us. And the engineer told our engineer, hey, can you leave the EQs, the drum scene, for us? And our manager says, yeah, but just make sure you go and get Joey out of the bus to come and play them for them to sound like that. You know what I mean? Because he goes, because at the end of the day, and so that was like one validation, right? And then I was in the studio one time. My buddy had a classic maple Ludwig, beautiful gold sparkle, old school, and I was excited to play this drum kit, And the studio manager tells me, "Hey Joe, you might wanna tweak it because the tuning or whatever." And Mariano, before I even could respond to the guy, Mariano tells him, "Watch, wait till he hits him." Listen to the sound he's gonna get.
Yeah.
And I was like, so then it wasn't until when Mariano said that, I'm like, so it's the way. What is it? And he goes, bro, it's your attack. It's the way you hit. It's the sound you get out of the drums.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, man. Like he goes, it's just like a guitar player, you know. And I say this because I witnessed it one time. It blew my mind to see a band perform, and we were watching it. The band was called Vallejo. They're from Austin, amazing musicians. And we were watching the concert, and I was with Chris Perez, and the singer, he goes, Chris. The singer plays guitar. He goes, Chris. He goes like let's come and jam.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, go, dude, right? So he goes. He literally walks all the way to the back, gets on stage. The guy takes the guitar off, hands it to Chris. Chris starts playing it, and I promise
Completely
you,
different.
dude, I promise you,
no
it
shit.
sounded like Chris went to the back, unloaded his amp, got his guitar, his pedals. But it's all right here.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's always told me. Like, it's the way you hit the drum. It's like you get a certain you 20 people play the same drum set, and it's gonna sound 20 different ways. You know, it's just your toque. And but yeah, man. So I currently have the Gretsch. Gretsch is my rig right now, but my goal is to go back to Pearl and finish it in Pearl.
Just finished with Pearl.
Yeah.
Brother, you're a badass. My respects.
Thank you, man.
My respects. Well, how much time we got? What we got going on?
An hour and 41.
Hour and 41. Damn. How y'all feeling?
We're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Damn, that was pretty good. I'm over here fucking just in shock. I'm just taking everything in. I'm just like, damn, that's badass.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, man. I mean, you know, I've been very, very blessed by the man upstairs to when you get to I always say when you get to do what you love to do more than anything in this world, that's a beautiful blessing, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and
making a living out of it.
yeah,
Bro.
and trust me, man, I've been on the opposite. Like, trust me, like it's like people. It's like I was telling you the story about the guy that was freaking out that I was loading my own stuff.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
he was. I was telling these guys a story where I was playing recently with Jaime de Anda. Shout out to Jaime de Anda, and I was loading in Jaime de Anda, the chamacos. They all have their own. There's no roadies. We don't even carry our own PA. Everybody just is like everybody had like Stevie Ray, the bajo player, has his bajo, his amp, his pedal board. John has his bass, his headset, his wireless. Jaime has his accordion, his wireless. I have my drums. And when we're done, the majority of the time they're already gone. I'm still, with my drums.
We're always the last ones.
Yeah. So this guy sees me going in and out with my wagon with my stuff. He's looking he's looking at me like, and he's like, is this who I think it is?
Okay.
And then he finally stops. He goes, hey homie, he goes, tú eres el Siggno, right? And I was like, yeah, man. What's up? He goes, why are you doing this? I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, how come you don't have nobody doing this for you? I was like, I don't need anybody to do it for me, Like this is what I do, bro. He's like, órale, hey man, respect, bro. That's respect, man. Like, you do it. But that's the thing, bro. It's like, I mean, I've been fortunate to be on stage and have two drum techs do everything for you. And you're playing at Stadio Azteca in front of 120,000 people, or I could be playing at a bar of maybe there's 30 people there, and I'm doing it by myself. Like at the end of the day, I'm grateful and fortunate and blessed that I get to still play drums, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I was telling the fellas, like, that's who I am, and aparte from all the wonderful fans that have, embraced and acknowledged my craft throughout my career, I'm very grateful. I've also been blessed with an amazing partner that has that completely understands that she knows that that's what I am. I play drums, and she knows that drums is. I look at them on my phone. I look at them on YouTube. I mean I'm sure we all do, right? That's what makes us special. You know what I mean? Like we're those type of dudes, and the support that I get from her and is such an amazing blessing, man. And the fact that that people like yourselves and that are doing what you're doing for this genre, and even like you said, wanting to eventually expand with different genres. I mean, dude, I say, knock out a damn home run, man. You know, if dare to dream big. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I want to be able. I'd like to say that God forbid something were to happen to me. I know that my obituary would say I lived my life exactly the way I wanted to do
That's
it.
beautiful, man.
You know,
Yeah.
and the beautiful people and supporters that I've met along the way have been insane, bro. I mean, it's insane to see people with the tattoo of jams on their body.
I did not know
You
that.
know
I
that
bet,
that's or somebody saying sign my arm, I want to tattoo it. I mean, I know that feeling because that's what I did with Mötley Crüe. You know, that those are my heroes, and to have, you know, people
That influence
look at
on
me,
people,
yeah,
it's muy
and
chingón.
you know, and that's just, you know, my dad used to tell me when I was younger, he said that people are gonna notice you right away because you're young, and the skill level that you're at is it's just different. Like you know, you're already too advanced at a young age, and he goes, and you always have to keep your feet on the ground, man, because you know, as quick as that it happens, it'll go away. God'll humble you fast, you know, and that's how come, you know, I'm open for whatever when it comes to playing music and meeting people and just, you know, getting to know people and I mean it's you know, it's part of life, man. You know, I don't ever see, especially when it comes to drumming, it's not a competition, man. This is art. You know, everybody expresses it the way they express it, and you know, it's a beautiful thing, man.
It is
Well,
really-
Joey, I think I can speak for myself and everybody that forms part of Baqueteros, as you know, as well as you. We appreciate you being here, man.
Oh, dude.
And it just shows. I mean, just sitting here for 2 hours, you know, plus, and just listening to your experiences and who you are as a person, it just keeps on motivating us, you know. And
Oh,
how we
thank you,
were
man.
talking before, even the
Yeah.
podcast, that you really like the whole movement of what Baqueteros is. And
I
it
do,
just-
and you know, I would really like, to be honest with you, I would really like to do something like that with my peers. You know, like to hold like a drummers night out, or like not even, or more so to you know, get together and just talk shop,
That's what
and
we're
you know,
talking about, too.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we're-
Yeah,
yeah,
because the thing is like it's so cool, man.
and we'll do it. We'll do
Yeah.
it. We'll form something. We'll go wherever we got to
Go
go.
get something going. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be super awesome, because I mean, in Tejano music, there's a lot. In Tejano and Conjunto music, there is a lot of talent, a lot of great, amazing drummers out there. You know, really trying to keep the genre alive, man.
alive,
You know,
for sure.
because you know, a lot of people. It's like people, you know, tell me like it freaks them out to see me play Mafia music, because when I'm playing with Loca Pasion, I stick to the script.
Straight.
There's no
Nomás.
double bass or any of that crazy stuff. It's just nomás lo que es.
Yeah.
And then I go play with Jaime, and that's a little bit more progressive, or I go and do Koe Wetzel, and that's playing rock, or you know, and that's the thing, is that I've always told myself as a drummer that I don't want to be in a box. I don't
You
want to
gotta be
be.
versatile, man.
I don't want to be.
Facts.
Oh, Joey's a
Norteño,
Tejano drummer or Norteño
yeah.
drummer or whatever. I'm a drummer, and I
Period.
dip into everything,
That's
and
why-
and
mhm.
yeah.
That's why I really like about you, bro, because you're so versatile. Because obviously on your, como se dice, all your experiences with all these
Yeah.
different bands,
Yeah.
from Masore to Koe Wetzel, so it's a Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
That's crazy ass versatility.
Yeah,
We're gonna
dude,
see,
big
we're gonna
time,
see him
bro.
playing banda next.
Yeah, probably gonna see him play tarolas.
Yeah, dude, and you know, it's super awesome, man, to get that. I remember playing a gig or going out to California with Siggno back in like 2017, and I got to meet El Pulpo Jesse, who played with Gerardo Ortiz, and I remember where the place that we played at, my drum set was like on stage left in the corner, and I remember when I walked on stage, there was like 50 dudes on this side, and they all had their cameras out,
Yeah, just
and I was
with-
playing. And
with
I mean, of course, you know, there were musicians, and the majority of them were drummers. But after the show, they all came out into the back, and I got to meet them all, and they introduced me. That's when I got to meet Jesse, and they were all like, you know, over here, Jesse's the guy, but Jesse was like, no, this dude. And I was like, oh man, nice to meet you. And you know, they were freaking out that we were meeting, You know, like it was so cool, man. And like I said, you know, I love all that. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if I'm in my room or if I'm in a stadium or wherever, man. You know, I definitely embrace and cherish the moment of playing my drums because you never know, man.
Yeah.
You never know.
Speaking about Siggno, bro, what if the opportunity arose to jam with them? I mean, like not like just a palomas.
I actually played with them. I played with them last year in Crystal City. I played with them. It was a trip, man. It was it's like riding a bike, bro. It's how I felt doing it. It's like, you know, they play those songs a little different than from when I was in the band. But as soon as I got in the band, it's like they got on my train and I took them again, you know? And I mean, dude, that was something that I created, and that's something I'll never forget. When I was playing with Macizo, we were doing a gig in Pearsall, and one of my really good friends, Ray, he's a sound engineer. I was doing something on my drum set. And he goes, "Hey, play the intro, the pickup to the song Yo Te Amaba Desde Antes."
Oh yeah.
Right, and the right. So I played it for him, and then I just started playing it. And I was singing it, playing it, but he's standing right in front of my kick drum, and then he just goes, "Oh," and I stop, and I'm like, "What?" He goes, "That's the sound right there." That's I go with. I create those are my parts.
Yeah.
I created that, you know.
That song, Ricky Munoz helped you with it, no? Or
Okay, me amas.
Oh yeah,
Dude, that one, you know, that song "Que Me Amas" was such a fun experience because I remember when we got there, we all got there late. He was there waiting for us, and I was in the drum room putting the stuff up for the drums, and he walked in. He goes, "Joey," and mind you, I've known Ricky and the guys from Intocable since I was 13 years old with Excelencia. They were big Excelencia fans. That's how long I've known them. So he walks in, he goes, "Hey, are you ready to channel your inner Tommy Lee?" And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Are you ready to channel your inner Tommy Lee?" He goes, "Because I came with this song with you in mind, brother." And I was like, "I'm ready. I'm always ready." So I remember we were doing, we're already going over the song, and I was in the drum room, and everybody else was in the control room, and we were creating Que Me Amas. And when we're playing, we're doing the chorus, and he goes, "Okay," and Ricky was like, right before we go back to the music, to the accordion music, he goes, "Right there, Joey, I want you to give me a lick right there. I want you to give me something that people are going to be more on your nuts than what they already are." That's exactly what came out of his mouth. And I was like, "Okay." So then I did the riff, and then he goes, "And at the end, it's your time to shine. The ball's out," ending of Que Me Amas.
Yeah.
And man, when I heard it back, I was like, "Wow, dude, that was super awesome." And then what was crazy is that when we did the song Solo Amame, right? Mm-hmm. We were going over the song, and when we were gonna fade out, right? We're gonna fade out Solo Amame. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the song, we go back to the bum, da, dun, right? Mm-hmm. And then I could see them like they're doing this, like keep going, like we're gonna fade out. So I started messing with the bass drums. Yeah, I'm just playing, you know. And then I started doing the, you know, and then I did the not knowing that was gonna be the ending. I just made that riff because it was already time to stop. I thought it was already time to stop. And then as soon as I get off the drums, I go, assuming we're gonna fade, right? You're not gonna hear the double bass. We're gonna fade. Yeah. So I get off the drums. I go to but right before I go into the control room to hear it back, Turner meets me, and he goes, "Hey, you don't think that was too much?" He goes, "Maybe you should have been." I said, "No, dude, we always do that."
Yeah.
So as soon as I opened the door, he goes, "Dude, that was fucking amazing." That's what Ricky told me. And then we played it back, dude. And then the guys ended up coming up with the chords, and we left all that part, and that stayed there. Yeah, it stayed there.
There was a point where you played in a Mötley Crüe tribute band, right?
Well, actually, that's another funny story. Right when I got out of Siggno, they were having this festival in Beeville, Texas. It was called Springfest, and they hired a Mötley Crüe tribute band. They're called Mötley 2. And so the guy that was in charge, he called me, and at first it was an invitation. you want to invite you and your wife to come to the show. We know you're a big Mötley Crüe fan. They're a Mötley Crüe tribute band. Come enjoy the show. I was like, dude, we're there. So like maybe a week prior, he calls me and said, hey, would you like to jam a song with him? I was like, really? He was like, yeah. I was like, fuck yeah. So he goes, dude, okay. So then the band, I guess he talked to the band. So the band sends him a list of songs at the part of their show that they'll take me up. And out of those songs, I was like, because my favorite Mötley Crüe song of all time is Looks That Kill from the Shout at the Devil album. And that song wasn't on there. I was like, it was on in the earlier part of the set. So I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'll play Livewire with double bass and stuff. So that was cool. I was hyped. So the day of the show, my wife got sick. And she was like, babe, I don't feel good. So, and Beeville's only 45 to an hour from my house. I said, okay, don't worry about it, babe. I'll go play them, come home. So I go and I'm in my Mötley Crüe shirt, boom, boom. I get there and I meet the person in charge. And then he goes, yeah, the band's in that party bus. So I walk in this party bus and I promise you guys, I was like, when I walked in, there's guys in the party bus. And I walk in, I'm thinking, where the fuck is a band? Who the fuck are these animals? Right? 'Cause they did not look like a band. They looked like, they just freaked me out. So I sat down and because I didn't know they wore wigs and all that stuff, right? They did not look like that, right? So we're there talking and they're going, man, bro, you look more motley than we do. And so we start discussing and they go, so you want to play Livewire, right? And I was like, well, yeah, that's what was on the list. And then the drummer says, well, there's this thing that I do on Livewire. Is there any other song you'd want to play? I said, well, my favorite song is Looks That Kill. Hold on. Looks That Kill was the second song on their set. They go, you know what? We'll move it so you could play Looks That Kill. I was like, yes, right. So then I went to the front and I watched them perform and they sounded good, man. They were pretty good and I was there checking them out. And then I knew it was after, I forgot what song after the song, and then it was my turn to go. So yeah, I went and my friend Anthony, I was live on Facebook. He recorded me. So I got up there and I'll never forget, bless the drummer. I didn't even get his name. He was trying to tell me the count for the song. And I'm like, that's like right now you trying to tell me how to sing Happy Birthday. Yeah. I'm like, dude, come on. Yeah. So when he was gonna say, hey, it's I went in 1, 2, 3, and I started jamming, right? And I was playing with Mötley Crüe. So my wife, let me tell you guys, if I do anything, babe, what do you think? Oh, that sounds really good, babe. Really, really good. Babe, what about this? Oh, that sounds really good, babe. Really, really good. And I'm thinking, is it really good or is it fucking awesome or bad? and she's like, oh, babe, that was great. Really good. Dude, as soon as I got off stage, I checked my messages. She put, oh my God, babe, that was fucking awesome. She never says that. She's always, so it was a great experience, man, that they allowed me to do that. And they freaked out because sometimes you get somebody to get up to sit in and it's like, and these dudes were like, and right before they went on stage, the bass player goes, okay, so we're going to end. Bam, bam, bam. I'm like, got you. So then, sure enough, bam, bam, bam. They were like, what? Like it was awesome, man. It was a badass experience. A lot of people thought that that was my band or I was playing with them, But no, I just sat in with them. So it was really, really cool.
Well, thank you, brother, for coming on the show, man.
Oh, thank you for
it was a good time.
Thank you for the invite, man. All you guys, the hospitality and everything, like, I appreciate it, man. Like
great stories. Hey, there's gonna be a second part though. I still want to hear.
Let's go. Dude, I have a lot of stories, bro.
We can make a 6-hour podcast.
I can tell you about when the airport lost my damn cymbals and shit.
We're driving in the truck, bro. I'm like, man, we should have fucking just done this shit right here. Everyone's talking our asses off about a bunch of.
Yeah, send them to me. Nah, Joey. Jams, porque James me cuelgan.
Shout out to everybody tuning in. Thank you so much for your unconditional love and support, man. I appreciate you guys.
You got any Loca Pasion shows coming up?
Oh yeah, well in this area we're working on coming to Dallas and later on in the year. But look up Loca Pasion, a tribute to La Mafia. That's my baby, my band, tribute to the greatest Tejano band to ever live. So I appreciate you guys again. All you guys, thank y'all so much for
yes, sir.
for everything. It means everything, and we'll see y'all
on the next
soon.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna go over and make some content on the drums here in a bit
Sounds
too.
good.
So we're not done.
Chingon.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Yeah.
That's
Listo.
That was pretty long. 2 hours. An hour.